state of Tennessee has decided this legislative session that they wanted to pass laws that would not allow criminal migrants to gain any more power in the state than they already had. One of the laws is where they are criminalizing the ability to create sanctuary areas within the state. And the other law is they aren't going to allow people to harbor these criminal migrants. Well, because of these laws, the ACLU and other groups are suing the state because they want to protect these criminal migrants. They keep claiming all kinds of things such as freedom of speech and whatnot, but it's basically they want to protect Tren de Aragua, they want to protect MS-13, they want to protect the Russian mob even, because these groups give them the ability to find ways to keep criminals safe. Well, this is going to be going before federal courts now, and we've seen what federal judges are willing to protect in this country, but I thought I'd bring this to your attention. Also, just as a side hilarious story, I am finally going to be able to start the monetization process of my channel. Yesterday, when I was doing this, I literally looked there. I've got over 500 subscribers, which I thank y'all. I really do. But it stopped at 2,999 hours, which 3,000 is the threshold, and I was cracking up laughing. That's my kind of things. But now I've gotten the hours in there, and I thank y'all for watching my videos. So that's on the YouTube side. So let's get into watching these two clips of what's going on with the lawsuits in Tennessee. Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself.
Brett, thank you. Continuing coverage now on a lawsuit challenging a new Tennessee state law that would punish lawmakers, local leaders, if you would, with jail time if they support policies that favor illegal aliens.
Fox 17 News' Hope Salmon joining us live outside the Metro Council to break down both sides of the lawsuit.
The ACLU filed a lawsuit on Tuesday. 7 council members say that it's too vague and it restricts their First Amendment rights, but supporters of the law say it's to prevent sanctuary cities.
We're going to pass laws. You're going to enforce those laws. You're going to abide by those laws. There's going to be consequences.
A law soon could go into effect in Tennessee, making it a crime to vote for policies creating sanctuary cities. The move, supporters say, follows the Trump administration's immigration agenda.
Those in Davidson County who clearly want to stand with illegals or protect illegals that are here, if they want to continue to do that, that's between them and the voters. But us in the state legislature, we're going to move forward with the will of the people who elected us.
The lawsuit argues the plan is not only too vague, but it also violates the First Amendment rights of local leaders who want to support immigrant communities.
Immigration is a federal issue. Local governments are not equipped or trained to handle immigration enforcement.
Councilmember Delicia Porterfield is part of the lawsuit.
And why you decided that you too wanted to be part of this?
You know, this is criminalizing legislative speech and debate and deliberation. And that's just an example of abuse of power and state overreach.
I asked Representative Jason Zachary if this law restricts city leaders from voicing their opinions.
We've done nothing to limit anybody's First Amendment rights. Everyone still has the right of free speech. This was specifically related to a vote. If you take a vote on a sanctuary city policy, that's a felony.
Under this law, anyone in violation could face up to 6 years in prison and a $3,000 fine. I'm reporting live in Nashville. Hope Salmon, Fox 17 News, your Code Red station.
A Murfreesboro man and others argue the law is so vague that landlords, churches, and charities could get in trouble. State Capitol reporter Tori Gessner explains.
Offering a helping hand is often an act of faith, but some fear it could become a felony in certain circumstances under a new Tennessee law. a bill criminalizing human smuggling and harboring or hiding someone who came into the country illegally passed this year.
The state legislature passed this law claiming it's about public safety and that it's an effort to stop human smuggling. That is something that's really important, and it is happening in certain places, but this law does not actually address that problem at all.
Set to go into effect July 1st, a coalition of religious groups, plus a Tennessee landlord and a resident whose son-in-law is seeking asylum, are suing to stop it. They argue the law is so vague, they don't know which immigrants fall under it. And it could be illegal to help someone who now has legal status. They also claim they could be charged with a crime for, quote, everyday activities that involve providing shelter to immigrants, like renting an apartment or a church hosting immigrants for an event.
A big part of their fundamental Christian faith is providing ministry to all people, immigrants, not immigrants, and welcoming immigrants. And having an open door policy to all comers, regardless of their immigration status. And so this law puts that at risk as well.
Republicans say the bill doesn't go after charitable organizations or churches, only criminals who traffic and hide people for financial gain.
Keep in mind, Mr. Speaker, most of these victims are children, and they are human smuggled, and they are sold into sex slavery, and we ought to be doing everything we can to try to catch these kids before they are sold into sex slavery.
But a Tennessee landlord who's part of the lawsuit worries he'll be charged with a crime by leasing his rental property to a man who lets other, possibly undocumented people live in the house with him.
The way that the Tennessee legislature wrote this law, even providing shelter, aka renting an apartment to someone like that, could subject the landlord to criminal penalties. And that's a pretty absurd result.
Reporting in Nashville, I'm Tori Gessner.
The lawsuit asked a judge to temporarily block the law from going into effect while things play out in court. We reached out to the district attorneys general named in that lawsuit for comment, and we are waiting to hear back.
I know laws can be taken over to an extreme, and people have a habit of doing this in courts. Prosecutors, as was seen with, like, say, the January 6th convictions and so many other convictions across this country, people that are put into the prosecutor's office are constantly trying to find a way to make themselves look better. But these laws are worded in a way that, no, your freedom of speech is not being taken. I doubt very seriously that someone who is a landlord will be taken to account if they did not know that somebody was living in their apartments or their houses, for that matter. We need to start having some common sense applied to these lawsuits. Now, I don't know how far these lawsuits will go, but honestly, and I'm going to say this from a different standpoint, I want to see the lawsuits go forward. The reason why is because I want at least one of these to go before the Supreme Court, and it actually makes a stand and sets precedent for a while. Now, this can change with the changing of the court and whatnot, but we need to start getting these precedents set so that other states can see, hey, this is what the Supreme Court wants, even though we're still going to try to do these things differently than what the Supreme Court wants. It's still there, and federal judges have to do this. Now, there are certain times that I don't agree with some of the laws that are made in the state of Tennessee. There are certain times that I've looked at Supreme Court rulings and gone, what in the world were you thinking? But this needs to go before the Supreme Court. At least one of them does. Both of them would be nice. And us actually get like some clarification on what they think that what the Constitution says, via their interpretation, so that we can have a basis for other states to be able to make laws that will work. It's messy. It's people don't want to see how the sausages are made kind of situation, but it needs to be done. But tell me if you agree with me. Tell me what you think about this. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. So, folks, that's the story that I wanted to bring you on this video. And I just wanted to say thank you again for coming by. Hit like, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff if you don't mind. Help me out. So, y'all have a good day now. Bye.